Oscar and Yuliana Pérez Quiceno, and a long time ago, a Scotic language was brought up by West Germanic tribes, heavily influenced by Vikings and later shaped by Normans. It was definitely a history of invasion, but do you know what language I'm talking about? Yes, English is one of the most spoken languages, influencing more than 2.5 billion people worldwide. And you may ask, one single language, but why do we hear such different accents now? Well, an accent deals with sounds, with the way we pronounce things, based on our geographical location, social or cultural influences. An approximation to this could be that language isn't static but something that changes in the course of time and goes with our culture, with our religion, with the way we behave. But we will find out about this later on.
Hello, I am Esteban García, and continuing with this topic, we now know there are many aspects, many details, and many characteristics that are the ones that dictate why an accent is different from another, why a person might say a word different than other individual. But it all narrows down to sounds and the inventory of sounds that each person has, because it might be different. Might be different because of the place they were born, because of the language they were speaking before starting speaking English, or maybe because of their actually physical structure. This is all information that we are going to look more in depth in the presentation. Also, what kind of sounds are are the ones that we are actually changing? Is it all sounds that we are changing when we are switching between accents, or there are just some specific sounds? What are the examples, and why do we actually do this? Why did it happen, and where did it originate?
Hi, it's Manuela. Well, the accent in linguistic has two main meanings, one more strictly linguistic and the other more social. In the first sense, it consists of the greater or lesser intensity which a syllable is emitted. And in the social sense, the accent refers to a certain pronouns that allow us to recognize the geographical origin of a speaker. This characteristic corresponds to some phonics features such as the intonation and the melody of a speech. English has many accents, but why are accents different in the English language amongst different countries, regions, states, and cities? Well, in part is due to history. For example, the countries of United Kingdom, Scottish English began to develop after King James VI, who unified the kingdom of Scotland and England in 1603. The accent, vocabulary, and grammar were historical influence by the Gaelic. In addition, accents and are different in regions, states, and cities because they allow us to quickly identify ourselves and members of the social group. In general, we speak as the other speaks, and it's the way that we feel part of the group. So the accent is the sense in a powerful generation of individual and group identify.
So, differences in accents are likely to happen because of isolation from other people. Likewise, there are physical factors that can shape an accent. Countries that use English as a second language, like the Netherlands, can be a good example. But why? Because the muscle development differs from a speaker to another. The muscles that they use in their faces and mouths when speaking are muscles that were formed in early infancies when they were babies. As babies, humans are hyper receptive to noises around them, and start to talk just by the act of imitating speech. Owing to this, muscles are built up in a certain way just as accents do. As a matter of fact, Ireland is a country with very distinct accents. Dublin, the capital which was heavily influenced by the British occupation of Ireland for more than 800 years, it is interesting to see that even though it is a small city, there are two different accents there. On the north side, um, accent characterized by people talking like this, where the th sound is replaced by a d sound, and here the place of articulation is lingua dental, but goes because the tip tongue goes between your teeth, but goes to a lingual alveolar sound, where the tip tongue goes to the alveolar ridge. On the other hand, South accent is characterized by the prolongation of vowel sound. People hear elongate vowel sounds and everything is about O's and O's like ja, je, and here the accent differs from the narrow sounds on the north side. Besides, Corkonians in the southwest of Ireland speak louder than the rest of people, and the patterns of tone and intonation rise and fall like waves, like not about a boy. In Belfast, no is pronounced nigh, and I means yes.
So, when we are speaking about differences in between accents and pronunciation, one of the most important things that we have to point out is the fact that the, the inventory of sounds can be completely different for each person. This can happen to a lot of English learners, people who are just starting to learn English as their second language, maybe, uh, because they encountered that their own languages didn't have all the same sounds as English does. Maybe they did have the same sounds, but with a different letter combination, or maybe they were using a completely different alphabet, and all these things are kind of nonsense to them. They don't even know how to read it. But we can also trace all the same problem all the way back to the conquest eras when this isn't a modern problem. When communities who were newly discovered were given this new language and they had to translate all their expressions, their words, and their sounds to this new language, which was English, they just couldn't because it wouldn't adapt the same way. So they had to adapt to the best way they could, but it wasn't exactly the same. This also happened to Spanish. But when we are speaking about more specific differences between accents, the main thing that we're going to find is that there are differences in vowel and consonant sounds. And while English has a lot more vowel sounds differences between when compared to other languages, when we are speaking only about accents within the same language that is English, there are a lot more differences in consonant sounds. So, for example, in Britain, we can say that they don't really pronounce the R in a lot of words, such as car or market, that in English will be car and market. There are also some reading differences that would not exactly join in this category, but as we're mentioning, such as aluminium and aluminum. And when we are, when we are talking this topic of sounds, of specific sounds, there are a lot more examples that can adjust to each sometimes a specific persons, not only a specific regions.
To sum up, accents are characteristics in a person's language. We all have accent because this characteristic of intonation, melody, and pronunciation identify us as member of a certain group, a social group. However, the accents involve also history, since there are linguistic processes to make the use of language similar. In addition, the inventory of sounds are different. There is not the same alphabet and there is not the same sounds of the letters. And that is why we found the difference between the American and British accents. The consonants and vowels are not pronounced the same way. Not only the inventory of sounds, but also the muscle of the face and the mouth are developed since we are baby to be able to generate the sounds of the mother tongue, and therefore the accent of the different country and regions in the world are marked. And that's it. Thank you for watching.